So earlier this year, it was announced that Nintendo's going to be making a profit every time they sell a Nintendo Switch, which is a little bit different than what happened with the launch of the Wii U. The Wii U actually sold at a loss every time one got off the store shelf. And that's sort of the balancing act that these console manufacturers have to take on, because especially early on, manufacturing costs are usually high, but you still got to have a reasonable price to give to the consumer, to the customer. And so you don't want to take on high manufacturing cost and then also have a product that's priced so high that it's not selling and not moving any units. So what they usually do is, or at least in some cases, they take a loss early on because they understand that eventually manufacturing cost will go down. And also, profits don't lie in selling the consoles themselves. We talked about this before, where the money that these console manufacturers make, very little of it is actually through selling the console. Most of it comes through selling software, which would be games, of course, of subscriptions, as well as accessories. But as far as the Nintendo Switch is concerned, a well-known Japanese firm has done a teardown of the console and estimates that it costs Nintendo $257 every time one rolls off the assembly line. And then they turn around and sell that for $299, which is actually a pretty decent markup, considering electronics in general have a pretty low margin as far as profit goes. What I'd really be interested in is how much those little Joy-Cons actually cost to produce, the little tiny controllers that they have for the system, because they're selling for like $70 for just the plain gray ones on Amazon. And I bet you they don't cost anywhere near that as far as being able to produce. And of course, Nintendo isn't known for their cheap accessories because, again, that's where they make a lot of coinage. You know, when I was in high school, one of my first jobs was actually working at Walmart. And as much as I hate the store today and like I try to avoid it as best I can, at the time, it was probably the best job I could have ever had because it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun there. All my friends were working there and everything. But I learned a lot. And so I did a few jobs. I was assemblyman for a little bit. So I would put together displays that you see maybe on the furniture aisle, the bikes that are on the bike rack. I worked in garden center, but I was also department manager for the hardware section. And that really opened up my eyes as far as profit margins go and seeing how different items are marked up, because you got your little scanner, you know, that you walk around, and if you need to order product, you just scan the barcode or whatever. And what was neat was that it would show you what Walmart was selling the product for, but then it would also show you what Walmart actually paid for that product. So you could see how much profit they were actually making on the different items. And so in hardware, you would think that a lot of the expensive items would be where they make a lot of money, like the saws, the tools and drills and things like that, where you've got products that are like, you know, $50 and above. But actually, every time the district manager came in, there was only one aisle he ever cared about, and making sure that I had everything that was filled up there and there was no empty slots. And that was the nuts and bolts aisle, like the aisle that you can walk down and everything is pretty much like, you know, 80 cents or barely over $1. And because whenever you scan one of those items, the profits were usually like over 1,000% as far as the margins go between what they paid for it and what they were ending up selling it for. So even though it may not have been large amounts of dollars that were being transferred between customer and store, that stuff added up. And every time somebody bought a little pack of nails or nuts or bolts or something like that, it was almost pure profit from the standpoint of Walmart. And so that really opened up my eyes and made me see that, you know, sometimes it's the little things that are actually the biggest money makers, because you sell a lot more of those over time and it really adds up. Which I kind of got off topic here a little bit, but I think something very similar probably happens with the console manufacturers. So like if you pull somebody off the street and you ask them, you know, what's the biggest moneymaker for Nintendo, they probably say consoles for the vast majority of them. But I would say that it's probably not the big items, but the smaller items that make the most money for these manufacturers. So it's going to be the accessories and, of course, definitely the games. So an interesting topic, I thought. If you want to stay tuned with the latest gaming news, stay tuned to videogamesandnews.com. Also, if you enjoyed this, drop a like. It definitely is appreciated and helps out the channel. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. Also, real quick, the same company who did the teardown also estimating that the Switch is going to sell somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 million units by the end of 2018. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn.